Okay, so this is a review for our quiz. It's actually 9-1 to 9-4. I changed that, didn't I? Yeah, 9-1 to 9-4 is what the quiz is on tomorrow. And you have your summative reference sheet. Looks like this. Okay, if you've got a bunch of rules, and you need to know which section you need to be looking at in order to decide what will help you be successful on your test or quiz. I think we have quite a bit of stuff showing you what things look like, etc. So the first question that's on here, the review says, name the coordinates of Q, which is at 3, -9, under reflection in the x-axis. Now, you almost really shouldn't have to look at that sheet, but it would help if you just thought like this. I mean, who needs a sheet if you can say, well, I know the y-axis is here and I know the x-axis is there. And if 3, -9, that'd be somewhere down there, right? You know, it doesn't even have to be an accurate plotting of the point to think about it. If you're going to reflect in the x-axis, it's going to go from here up there, right? So what had changed? The y. That's the change sign of y. If you're going over the x-axis. Okay, so it's the opposite of what you might think. The rule in the ISN says xy becomes x, the opposite of y, which means change the sign of the y. So that's 3, 9. Now, if you were going over the y-axis, now you're going to change what? Not y, but, so if you were going that way, you would change the sign of the x. Okay, so it would be -3, -9. The original point was that 3, -9, so going over the y-axis would be -3, -9. So I added in both of them because you don't know which one's going to be on your quiz. It could be over x-axis, it could be over y-axis. Name the coordinates of 2, -4 under a rotation of 270. Okay, so then you can go back to your reference sheet if you need to, if you don't remember, and refer to the rule. For 270, you have to know how to interpret this. It just means if you have a point x, y, then you're going to change the x sign and switch it with the y. Oops. So, for this problem, we're going to be change x and switch x and y. If you want to write that down, your quiz won't have that on it, of course. You'll have the reference sheet to use. So if we change the sign of x and switch it with the y, it'll be -2 is changing 2 to negative. And you'll switch it with -4, so it's going to be -4, -2. Okay, that's going to be p prime. All right, number 3 says, name the coordinates of 4, -1 under a translation of -2, 5. This is a vector. Okay, it's telling you left 2, up 5. Well, that's the same as if you took the x value and subtracted 2 and took the y value and added on 5. So this is what I would just do, is do 4 - 2 and get 2, and -1 + 5 and get 4. That would be the location of the new point if you translated it left 2 and up 5. But since you don't have a grid to do it on, you want to just take the values of the vector and combine them with the values of the corresponding components of the point. Okay? All right, we're going to need to do this one using the document camera, or I'm going to, because otherwise you're not going to probably see what I'm doing. So I'm going to switch over to the presenter. Turn on the light. Now, if you're remembering and you're already starting, great. But we don't have this thing labeled with anything. So I'm going to put some labels on it, and I'm just going to call it A, B, C, D. Okay, so I'm moving the corners. Now, if the point is on the line of reflection, then A prime will stay right on that line, so you can just write A prime on the other side. Same with B, because it's on the line. But to reflect D and C over the line, we need to measure how far they are from the line. So if I measure from the line, I'm putting 0 nice and straight on the line, so that the line where 0 is lines up with the line I'm reflecting over. And then I'm counting how far, and I'm getting 0.9. It's almost to the 1, so it's 9 marks to that side. Now, you can do one of two things. You can either slide your ruler up and put it at the 0.9 and then go to the 0. Now, there's multiple ways for you to get it, but you want to stay straight with the line. You can do it that way, or you can just turn your ruler over. I'm going to have to slide my paper over so I don't hit my camera. Okay, and you could go straight up 0.9 to the other side. All right, you want to label that D prime. And then we'll do the same thing. C is the same distance below, so I'm just going to go to the line because it was a rectangle and go 0.9 above the line. And label that one C prime. And then just connect the points. Now, if yours is crooked and it doesn't look like a rectangle, that is a problem. Okay. All right, we'll try the other one. This time, we're going to have to turn our ruler this way. Okay. Let's call this one cat. C-A-T. Should have said dog, because I have a cat later on in the problem. But anyway, I'm going to measure from C to the line. It looks like that's 2.5 centimeters. So I can slide over, just line up with that line again with 0 on the line. Go 2.5 centimeters to the right. Label that C prime. T prime is the same place. Okay, and I just got one more point. I need to go up and measure how far A is from the line of reflection. And I've got about 1.2. It's almost between 1.2 and 1.3. So what you can, if you like to hold your ruler still because you're afraid you're going to mess up, you can just count that many marks the other side, but I really think it's easier if you slide over and get 0 nice and straight on that line. Okay, and then count 1 point. It's really between 1.2 and 1.3. And label it A prime. Now I'm not going to get nitpicky if you're a tiny, tiny bit off or something. But if it doesn't look like it is, if you fold on the line and the two figures would match up, that is a problem. They should look like they would match up if you folded on that line. Okay. All right, and your reflection that you have to do on the quiz tomorrow, you really only have to reflect 1 point accurately and draw it. It's not very hard. Okay, I think you can do it. Just hopefully you'll go straight across. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead, since I've got to do this rotation at the bottom of the page, I'm going to just go ahead and do this one right now on here. So using the document camera. So I'm going to plot the point 0, 5. You've got to plot your original figures. Label that P. 3, 2, right 3 up 2, Q. And 7, 7 is R. And use your straight edge maybe to make a nice triangle and connect your points. Okay, now we're going to read what we're supposed to do to it. We're supposed to plot that figure and its image reflected in the x-axis. So the easiest way to do that is to count. I want my green pen. I don't know where it went. Oh well. Do it in another color. You guys probably be done before I get it done. Oh well. All right, Q is 2 above. This is your x-axis. So you want to remember that that's what you're reflecting over. There's your x-axis. So Q is 2 above, so you go 2 below. Label it Q prime. R is 7 above the x-axis, so go to the other side, 7 down. There's R prime. And then P is 5 above the x-axis, so you want to go 5 below. And there's your P prime. And this was not the pen I wanted, but it will do. Okay. You don't have to color it in, I just did so you can see it a little better. Make sure you have your notation on there, your prime notation, and the labels. They will count on the quiz. Okay, now here's the one we found probably a little more difficult than this, right? And that would be rotating. I want to rotate, and I'm going to think about it before I do it. Okay, I want to rotate the triangle PQR about the point. The center of rotation is point T. You're going to be going counterclockwise because we decided all our rotations would be counterclockwise unless otherwise stated. So P should come this way, okay, to this side of T. Just trying to have you visualize it. R should come to this side, and Q should come around to this side. So what I suggest is the easiest way to do it is to go ahead and connect R through T and make a nice line. You don't even have to make it that big just because I can tell I don't need it to be that long because I have to make a mark the same distance from T to R on the other side of the line. So I'm going to measure in centimeters how far it is from R to T. Now, this is a big fat dot. So I've got 1, 5, about 6, 7, about 1.7 or 1.6-ish in the middle. Okay, now, because we made a line, it makes this a lot easier to do to just slide our ruler over and now go make a mark at the same spot, which was 1.67-ish. Right there. And then label it R prime. I'm going to do the same thing for P. I'm just going to line up P. Make sure you're not covering P up when you go to put your ruler there. And just kind of go through the middle of the dot. Make a nice line. Okay, then measure from P to T. I've got about 2.8 centimeters. So I'm going to slide my ruler to put 0 on the middle of T. And I'm going to go out 2.8, which is 2.5, and then 3 more little marks. Label that P prime. You really don't need a calculator. Okay, go through to the other side from Q. Okay. Measure from Q to T. Are you guys getting 3.4? Okay. Slide the ruler to T at 0. And go to 3.4 and make a dot. And that's Q prime. Then you want to make your triangle. Oh, I'm going to relabel my R prime since I kind of covered it up. All right, and there is your 180-degree reflection of triangle PQR. All right, let's go back to the Smart notebook if I can get it to come up. And we're already on the next page. 7 says find the image of negative 3, 5 after a translation of, and now this notation is a little different than a vector. To remind you that this means the same thing as vector negative 3, 4, which is telling me left 3, up 4 if you were sliding around on a coordinate plane. But what this one shows you is subtract 3 from the x and add 4 to the y. So that's what I'm going to do right here. Subtract 3 from the x and add 4 to the y. So the image of A after that translation would be negative 3 plus negative 3, which is negative 6. 5 plus 4, 9. That's all there is to that question. Just have to understand that what you're supposed to do is say it's telling you right here. Number 8 says the line segment XY with endpoints at 5, 2 and 4, negative 6 is rotated 90 degrees about the origin. So what we do is grab our summative reference sheet, go find what it says to do when you translate or rotate 90 degrees. This symbol notation right here means change the sign of Y and switch X and Y. So that's what we're going to do. So 90 degrees, change or multiply Y by negative 1, which changes the sign of Y, switch X and Y. If you want to write that down, it's up to you. So I'm going to change the sign of the 2 to negative 2 and switch it with the 5, so that X prime would be at negative 2, 5. Now, of course, on the quiz, you're going to have a different points. They won't be the same numbers. Okay. And if I do the same thing for point Y, then I would change the sign of negative 6 to positive 6 and switch it with the 4, so it would be 6, 4. Again, if you want to write down what that rule was, it was said take your points, change them to negative YX. Right. Number 9. Oh, we have another cat. We're going to draw a triangle CAT, vertices negative 2, 4. So we've got to draw the original figure, labeling each point. 1, 5, and T's at negative 3, 1. Connect your points to make your triangle. The problem says to rotate it, and then we got to find how many degrees. Oh, this one is 90. Looking at your reference sheet again, rotate 90, change sign of Y, switch X and Y. The points XY go to negative YX. So I'm going to write down the points. C prime is going to be at negative 4, negative 2. I changed the Y value and switched it with the X value. A prime should go to negative 5, 1. And T will go to negative 1, negative 3. So T prime should be at negative 1, negative 3. Go ahead and plot your points, negative 4, negative 2. That's C prime. Uh-oh, I'm in the way. Wait, no, negative 5, 1 is above. So that's A prime. And negative 1, negative 3, T prime. And draw the triangle. Anyone still need this page? Okay. Part 2, write the letter. Okay, there's some multiple choice questions possibly on the quiz. So this does not have multiple choice. I took it off to make the review and I changed all the numbers. So a point negative 5, 10 is translated along this vector. What are the coordinates of the image of F prime? This vector means to go, oops, I forgot I didn't have a pen there. It means right 6 or add 6 and down 4 or subtract 4. So you do that to the x value, add 6. 6 plus negative 5 would be 1. I'm just writing the point in the little blank here. And 10 minus 4 would be 6. Oops, right. Forgot to write the t on right. Number 11, you got to just understand what it's asking you. It's really not very hard. It's just saying what translation vector. That means you got to make one of these things. A vector with the pointy brackets, telling what direction to go. It says if it moves 9 left, that would be negative 9, yep, and 2 up, positive 2. So don't let that question confuse you just because it has this big word. What's the translation vector? We're not using the rulers now because we could set them down instead of playing with them. Number 12. Parallelogram. JKLM has vertices. J at 2, 1, K 7, 1, L 6, negative 3, and M at 1, negative 3. What is the coordinates? What are the coordinates? Seems that like that would be more proper English. Of the image of L. Oh, so they're only asking about L. If the parallelogram is rotated 180 about the origin. So the only point we got to pay attention to is L. The one that's 6, negative 3. Now, what does 180 do? Okay, thank you. And you can look it up here. It just says change X and Y. Okay. So the rule for 180 is to change the sign of X, change the sign of Y. So it's just going to be L prime at negative 6, positive 3. So your question might be about a different one of the points, and it might have a different rotation. You know, I don't know, remember what's on the actual quiz. But it's a similar style of question. Okay, 13, the image of 2, negative 2 on a reflection came out to be negative 2, negative 2. What reflection produces the image of A? So, which reflection changes the sign? What happened? What's a change from A to A prime? What changed about it? Which two? Yeah, the first, the X value, right? The first number. So what reflection changes X? You know what? If you were confused on this, here's a way to do it and figure it out. 2, negative 2 would be somewhere about there. Where's negative 2, negative 2? Well, that's over here. So what'd you go over? You went over the y-axis. So that would be the reflection in the y-axis. So if you don't, just plot the points like kind of a, quick little sketch of it, and then you can figure it out. But in the rules, it does say that change the sign of X if you reflect over the y-axis. All right, we got another one to graph. EFG, vertices at 3, negative 2. There's E. F at 1, 3. And G at 5, negative 3. Oh, this is going to be a skinny thing. Okay. So E to G, I don't like where I put my letter E, because it's all over the triangle. So I'm going to move it. Okay, now I'm going to translate it negative 4, 2, which means left 4, up 2. So I'm just going to go slide the points. It just says to graph it and label E prime, F prime, G prime. So I'm going to go count 1, 2, 3, 4, up 2, and make that F prime. Take G, slide it 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left and up 2. Label it E prime. Do the same for G. And label it G prime. And then we can draw it. I didn't do a very good job connecting to F, but that's a little better. Yes? Not unless it asks you to. You don't have to. So if I have blanks for the, like if I had on a quiz and I might on a test at some point might say, what's E prime? And then I have wanting you to fill it in, then you got to do it. Otherwise, you just need to do it physically, and I'm going to be looking at your graph to see if it's done correctly. Okay, good question. So if that's not there, if it doesn't say list the points, then you don't have to. So, because I mean, it's really all I need to see is you know how to move it, and so this one I didn't think you really had to write them down. Okay, now we added on, this is the section 9.4 that we were studying yesterday. You have some notes you can study from in your ISN, and you have your reference sheet. So, bless you. If figure F were reflected in line U and line V, you don't have to do the reflection. Okay, you don't even have to do it. What it says, include the size, magnitude of the transformation, and what single transformation maps F to F double prime. So it's like you're going to flip it over, and then you're going to flip it over again. Okay, and what we want to know, and you don't have to do it, I'm just giving a quick little picture of kind of what it does. You want to know what happened to go from here to there. Okay, so it slid over, which is a translation, and how far? Well, pretty easy if you've got that sheet that says if you do a composition of reflections over two parallel lines, then the distance the first figure traveled to get to the third is 2 times the distance between the lines. Well, how far is it between the lines we had? 2 inches. So how far did the whole thing go? 4 inches. What's that? Right? Not. It is. That's the whole point. And what happens when you turn it over, reflect over 2 lines? Then it's going to come and it's going to go, oh dear, what's it going to do? It's going to flip over and go like that. So I'm not telling you to draw it, but it's going to go all the way to here. How far is that angle? So it made a what? Rotation, yep. And it went how many degrees? So you look at this angle, and what do you do to it? You double it. 2 times 31 would be 62 degrees. Okay, and that's on that sheet as well. It says right on your reference sheet, below this one, that if you rotate over 2 intersecting lines, the angle of rotation is twice the angle between the lines. Okay. All right, back to the review. What vector describes this translation in that picture? Well, how did it slide, and which ones do you start with? There's the notation on there. You got to pay attention to the notation. This is your first figure. It went over to here. The dashed one is your new one. So what's that move? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it went 6 to the right, which would be vector of 6. Did it go up or down? No. 0. 6, 0. The net figure you have on the quiz may move differently, but you just have to know which one to start with. Pick a corner and go to the matching corner on the other figure. That's it, and count it. Now, for whatever reason, we have more trouble with this type of picture. So what I'm going to do is say, all right, I forgot to write when I made this yesterday. I forgot to put in, because I just added in and changed things from last year. What is the image of S in a reflection? Let's go over line M. And then I'm going to talk about going over it in different directions. Okay, line M, I'm going to highlight because that's the one I'm going over right now. Okay, you are supposed to go at it at the shortest distance and go to the other side. So if you're going to take point S, where's it going to go if you slide it over that line? You want to go straight across. It's going to go to W. Okay, that is the answer to that question. I don't know why we sometimes find that difficult. Now, yeah, go ahead. Question? So what if I went over a different line? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, let's say you went over this line. Where would S go if you went that way? It'd go up to V, right? See the difference? Now, what if I said segment TS over line M? Then it'd be VW, okay? If I said TS over the blue line, T wouldn't go anywhere. So TS over this blue line would be T, and S goes to V, so it'd be TV. See? It would be TV. All right, so there's just a lot of different questions I could ask on this diagram, and hopefully the one you get asked tomorrow will be successful for you. All right, another question. Okay, we're going to go over line L. Here's line L. Now, what we're doing is we're taking and like saying, what is segment AC if you reflect it over line L? A's on the line, so A won't go anywhere, so it's going to start with A. Okay, it has to start with A, and then C is going to go popping over to, right, to B. So it'd be A, B, and it's a segment, so you should use your segment bar, or write the word segment. All right, I added in a bunch of different problems by pulling up a CUDA program and having it produce some problems for me, and then I picked and choose ones I liked. I think we're good with x-axis and y-axis right now. I'm going to leave those alone. I'm just going to go and choose some of them to go over with you that are different from ones we've already done today. So then you can practice these as well after you finish your quiz. This will be due on Monday. I will have a homework checklist for you tomorrow. You can turn it in tomorrow if you have it all ready to turn in, or you can turn it in Monday. Okay? Now, it's going to be 9-1, 9-2, 9-3, and 9-4. All right, in this review. All right, so let's already move on and not do, I'll leave 1 and 2 for you guys to do for some practice on your own. And 3 and 4 because they're over the x-axis and y-axis, yes. I'm going to go to that one right now. That's why I'm picking and choosing. So I'm gonna do 5 and 6 because we didn't do anything like that today. All right, so what we have to know for number 5 is, what kind of line is x equals 1? All right, x is 1 right here. It can't be this because that would be y is 0. It would have to be this. So an x equals 1 is a vertical line. You need to know that. We've studied it already. You should know it, but I'm reviewing it. So I'm going to make a vertical line at x is 1. Now, what I'm counting from to do the reflection is that green line. So S is on it, which means S prime is going to stay where it is. T is 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right of the line of reflection, so you count from the green line 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's T prime. U is 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, so we're going to go back to the line and go 1, 2, 3, 4 straight across to the other side, U prime, and then draw it. Looks like a butterfly. Okay. Sorry, I just played around. All right, next one. Reflection in the line y equals x. And you may remember that the line y equals x was a line that goes through 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. It cuts the first and third quadrants in half. So I'm just drawing that line in. Now, there's two ways you can do it. You can say, well, I'm supposed to go at the line at a diagonal, or straight at it. So K is one diagonal, two diagonals away, so you can go 1, 2 to the other side. Now, some of you, that will not work for. You won't like that. Okay, so the rule, because it doesn't make much sense to some people to count by a diagonal. So the rule says, well, what a mess I made with this thing. But anyway, what am I looking for? Reflection in the line y equals x. So I will go to my reflection section. And it shows you right here. Okay, that's the line we're going over. And what it says is switch x and y. So K was at 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1. So K prime's going to be at negative 1, 1, 2, 3. Well, I didn't even put it at the right, wait a minute, it's at 3, negative 1, excuse me. So K prime would be at negative 1, 3. And I have it in the right place, but now you know the coordinates. L is at negative 1, negative 3. So L prime is going to be at negative 3, negative 1. Negative 1, positive 3, correct. You switch x and y. I'm only writing down the points. I'm not going to write down the next ones because I don't want to make a mess right now. So I'm just going to say them. So I is at negative 2, 0. So I prime is going to be at 0, negative 2. The last one I haven't done is J. J is at negative 1, 2. So J prime is going to be at 2, negative 1. Oh my goodness. Now it's getting messy looking. All right, let's see if we can find the right points to connect. L prime to K prime. K prime to J prime. My new dots. It looks kind of crazy. But that is the reflection over the line y equals x of that figure. Okay, let me find another one. I noticed that there was a lot of rotations that for whatever the program that I used to generate the questions does not give me anything for 270. So it's got 180, 90, and it gave me a 180 and another 90. So let's change at least one of these to 270, okay? Because that's one you got to know too, all right? Now, 270 degrees rotation, the rule is change the sign of x and switch x and y. Okay, so if I change this, I could write down these locations and do it. L is at 3, 3. Guys, you don't need 3 minutes to get ready to go. Chill. K is at negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And J is at negative 2, 2. All right, so L prime, if you change the sign of x and switch x and y, L prime is going to be at 3, negative 3. K prime is going to be at 5, 2. And J prime is going to be at 2, 2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plot these in red. 3, negative 3. Finish this one up and no problem. 5, 2. And J, 2, 2. And how I can show you that that is correct is if I go from the origin to J and J prime, we went rotated this much, and that's 270 degrees. You see how there's only 90 left between there? 360 minus 90 is 270, so this is the correct way it should look. All right, as far as this one goes, I want just real quick to make sure you understand this notation. We already did one like it. You just add 1 to the x's and subtract 4 from the y's, and you can move them. All right, so be ready for your quiz tomorrow. Look over your summative reference sheet and the review and any packets.